All right, I want to call to order this meeting of the City of Bloomington Economic Development Commission. It's Monday, January 31st, 2022, and it's just about a minute past 4 p.m. And we're meeting via Zoom. And the first thing I want to do after calling this meeting to order is do a roll call. So Vanessa, you want to introduce yourself?
Yes, Vanessa McClary, Commissioner.
Kate, I think we may have lost Kate.
I think her phone was fighting a little bit.
Well, assuming she's going to get back on, I'm going to introduce myself, Kurt Zorn, Commission member. And why don't we go around and introduce everybody else and then come back to Kate when she reconnect. Oh, Jeff, sorry, you're up there and darn, Jeff, please.
Jeff McKim, Commission member.
All right. Now let's go ahead and introduce everybody else, and hopefully Kate will be back. So Jane, you want to?
Sure. So I'll do city staff and then I'll introduce our visitors today. So Jane Cooper-Smith, staff, and then Alex.
Hi, I'm sorry, I'm at the airport here. So Alex Crowley, Director, Economic Sustainable Development.
And Larry.
Larry Allen, legal.
And Heather.
Sorry, guys, I was just trying to participate in the background. Heather Lacey, I'm one of the attorneys for the council.
Thanks. And then I see Kate has made it, so we'll acknowledge that. And then Jeff Cockrell.
I'm Jeff Cockrell. I'm with the County Legal Department.
Hi, Jeff. And then from the BEDC, we have Jen Pearl.
Hi, I'm Jen Pearl. I'm president of the Bloomington Economic Development Corporation.
And Clark Greiner.
Good evening, everyone. Clark Greiner, BEDC, Business Development Director.
And then representing Catalent today, we have Andrew, if you'd like to introduce yourself.
Good afternoon. I'm Andrew Estelle, General Manager for the Bloomington Catalent site.
Great. And Grant?
Hello, my name is Grant Eccles. I'm the Director of Facilities, Environmental Health and Safety and Security in Bloomington.
Thank you. And then Jacob?
Hi, everyone. Jacob Everett with McGuire Sponsel. We serve Catalent both locally and at the corporate level on their location decisions.
And then I'll note that Malcolm Webb is also here now.
Okay.
I don't know if do you need an I for that to be official, Kurt? Or
No, I think we're all set. So we have Kate Rosenbarger and Malcolm joined. All right. So we'll move to the minutes. We have no minutes to consider or approve. We have no old business on the agenda, but we do have some new business, and we have two resolutions. 22-01, designation of an economic revitalization area, and resolution 22-02, recommendation of tax abatement for Catalent, Indiana, LLC. So I'm going to turn it over to Jane to sort of lead us through these.
great. Thanks for that. Yeah, we have two resolutions today. As Kurt mentioned, it's either feast or famine with the EDC. So we have a big topic of discussion today, and Alex is going to introduce it for us. So I'll pass to Alex.
Hi, everybody. Let me know if my audio isn't great and I can turn my video off to try to improve it. And also if there's background noise, I apologize. I'm sitting at LaGuardia and sometimes things go a little crazy here. So today we're going to be presenting a recommendation for an important real and property tax abatement for Catalent. The company is considering a major additional investment in Bloomington and its biologics facility, including significant additional job growth. So I trust everybody received the packet and was able to glance through it. What I'll do is I'll begin with some background information about the history of the site and Catalent's current impact on Bloomington. And then Catalent leadership will dive into the company and the Bloomington site, and I'll finish with information about our recommendation, and then we'd be happy to answer questions at that point. before we get into the substance of the recommendation, let me just briefly remind us all of the history of the site, which is also summarized in the memo. What you'll see and what you'll read is, and you may recall, in 1997, Thompson closed its operations in Bloomington. And at the time, they laid off about 1,200 employees. That was a significant income loss for a lot of workers in Bloomington. And then from a public monies perspective, it was also pretty devastating, with about $1 million lost in property tax revenues and about $350,000 in county income tax. So some communities that go through this recover from it. We were pretty fortunate in Bloomington. We had IU certainly in place. We had Cook, and we also had other employment opportunities, but it was nonetheless pretty devastating at the time. And the EDC and council quickly worked together with private interests to set the site up, which was abandoned at that point, into a site for future success. At the time, the city used a variety of tools, and they have subsequently, the city has continued to use those to stimulate development. Those include tax abatements, enterprise zone deductions, and CREED funding. CREED funding is Community Revitalization Enhancement District funding. So the site became, as you may recall, a Cook Pharma site. And in 2017, Catalent came and purchased Cook Pharma and is now one of the city's major employers and literally on the forefront of the vaccine effort, global vaccine effort, right here in Bloomington through its biologics work. So the public-private partnership has stimulated about $400 million in capital investment and the creation of more than 3,000 jobs on the site. It's a remarkable transformation of a significant facility. Today, we have that opportunity to expand the success, and Catalent's considering a major capital investment and significant job growth, which Catalent leadership will describe in their presentation. But to be clear, Catalent is already a significant taxpayer in Bloomington, maybe one of the largest. Estimates are that the personal property taxes that they pay, or this was dating back a couple of years, already exceeded $250,000 a year. And that's just the personal property and not the real estate property. So again, you know, Catalent, having only been in town for a handful of years, has already risen to prominence as one of the major corporations, major employers, and certainly major taxpayers in Bloomington. So the next investment would be another major investment in Bloomington, and it would have a very positive impact on our wages. Catalent jobs are paying more than $30 an hour on average. And that's just the jobs that the company themselves are providing to the community. If you look at economic models, you'll also see that there is undeniably an effect that's happening, a multiplier effect into the community from the benefits that those jobs bring. Depending on the model that you look at, it can be anywhere in the 2 times to upwards of 3 times multiplier. But to be conservative, you just I think have to assume that a certain amount of multiplication is happening, and it's just the ripple effects in the community are significant. So what we really are looking to support here and asking for your support is to help the community further expand from the investment Catalent's been making. And I'll turn it over to Catalent. They can talk a little bit about what's happening at the facility, and then we'll talk about the recommendation in detail.
Well, good afternoon. Thank you very much, Alex. Appreciate the introduction there. I'm going to share my screen so I can share with you the PowerPoint presentation we have. And let me, you let me know as soon as you see it. Can you see it?
It's still in,
Okay.
It's not in presentation mode, but we can see it.
It's not in presentation mode.
Mm-mm.
Okay.
But that's okay.
How about now?
There we go. Looks great.
Technology does not fail us. Okay, so good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Andrew Espejo. I'm the site general manager here at CalvinBloomington. We'd like to take a little bit of time this afternoon today to share a little bit about Catalent and the Bloomington site. So just a couple of things that Grant and I will take you through today will be our company overview, the overview of Bloomington, our ESG goals and initiatives, and the expansion plans and scope of those expansions. I apologize, as part of the expansion, there's construction work going on in the building, and you may be hearing some noise in the background. Okay, so at Catalent, our mission is to develop and supply products that help people live better, healthier lives. And we span the spectrum of different modes of pharmaceutical medicines. They range from oral solid dosage all the way through to consumer health with biotherapeutics, cell and gene therapy, and inhalation. We have a comprehensive development program where we develop products getting ready to go to market through clinical phases for our clients. We utilize the highest level of technologies here at Catalent. We are a global clinical supply operation. Again, clinical supplies are those supplies that go to the clinics for the phase 1, phase 2, and phase 3. We also do a lot of commercial manufacturing for our clients, and we have multi-modality manufacturing packaging, and I'll explain what that is. It's different types of unit operations. So just to give you a little sense of the network that we have here in Catalent, you'll notice that we span the entire globe. In North America, Europe, Latin America, and Asia Pacific. The light blue indicators are the biotherapeutics network sites. You can see we have several here in North America and in Europe. And I'll share with you that the Bloomington site is the largest manufacturing site in the Catalent network. And we are very proud of having that designation. As you can see here, these are the biotherapeutic sites in our network. I want to share with you a little bit about our core values. We have 6 core values, but the most important one to us is our patient-first value. And I'm not going to read to you these quotes, but these are the quotes that came from some of our colleagues here when we asked them, what does patient first mean to you? And I'll just tell you a little bit about me and why I came to Catalent. I've only been with Catalent just under 3 months. I've been in the pharmaceutical industry for over the last 22 years. And it's an industry where we're proud of the medicines that we make for our patients. And here at Catalent, that couldn't be any truer. We partner with our clients and our customers to provide life-saving medicines to millions of people all over the world. And that is our true North statement, patient first value. Everything we do because we know the patient needs it. And that's something very special about Catalent that I'm proud to be a part of the organization. So now we want to tell you a little bit about our site here in Bloomington. We are an award-winning facility. And what does award-winning mean? I'll let Grant tell you about some of the awards we've achieved.
So Catalent has won multiple awards in Bloomington for that is recognized by ISPE, one of the pharmaceutical industry standards established organizations. The most recent was in 2016 when we won the Technology of the Year award with our flexible filling machine. It's a really unique asset that has the capability of filling syringes, vials, and cartridges all in one piece of equipment. It's the first of its kind, and it really changed the game for pre-phase and clinical manufacturing in the pharmaceutical landscape. And Catalent Bloomington is one of the first to have that assets installed.
Yeah, and we're very proud of that distinction for the International Society of Pharmaceutical Engineers. Additionally, we are a fully integrated development, drug substance, drug product capability site. Not many sites can say they can do all of these different modalities. And this site does. And we're one of the very few sites in the pharmaceutical industry that provides all of these to their customers. So Alex mentioned that Catalent acquired Cook Pharmica back in 2017. And it's amazing how much has occurred in that very short 4 years. We have invested over $500 million into this site. we have added over 2,400 full-time employees, and the average salary of an employee here is $60,000 a year. Just want to give you some numbers about the Bloomington site. We talk about molecules here because the molecules are what we manufacture and turn into a drug product. So we manufacture over 160 molecules. We have over 65 clients that we provide pharmaceutical products to, and we service 18 of the top 25 biopharmaceutical companies in the globe. That's a pretty high distinction. And I joined Catalent from Bristol Myers Squibb. I was there for just about 9 years, and Bristol Myers Squibb is a customer of ours now. So it was a great transition for me. This facility has over 1 million square feet of manufacturing, warehouse, and office space. Like I said before, we do development work, which means we make products that go into the clinical trials. We do drug substance, and drug substance in biopharmaceutical speak is the active cells. We grow the cells into solutions that we can add into our drug product manufacturing, which are vials and syringes. And we also do the bulk packaging, and we call it complex packaging of the finished vial or syringe. What we also do as part of our packaging operations, we have the capability of assembling a medical device called a auto-injector. For example, epinephrine is an auto-injector, and that is a device that a patient would self-inject usually into their thigh to receive the medicine. We actually assemble those auto-injectors for some of our clients. Not many companies have that capability of doing that. We're very patient-focused, as I mentioned earlier, and 80% of our supported products are biologics, which means we grow the cells that people would then either inject or infuse into their body. We have over 3,200 full-time employees now, and the medicines that we manufacture here cover a wide range of indications, and most notably here, infectious diseases, inflammatory diseases, metabolic and cardiovascular diseases, musculoskeletal diseases, neurosciences, and oncology. So it's very important, the work that we do here. If you could just imagine the number of patients who receive medicines for these indications, it's vast and it's global. And it's something that we take very seriously in our manufacturing processes.
So Andrew's done a nice job really talking about our core mission of delivering therapeutics and medicines to our patients, but also core, and it's something that's very important to Catalent and our Bloomington site, is acting as a responsible corporation. And as part of that, Catalent is committed and has signed a letter of commitment to the Science-Based Target Initiative, which is focused on reducing greenhouse gas emissions around the world, as well as has a number of initiatives in place to reduce our water intensity and target zero waste to landfill across all of the sites in Catalent. Here locally, we have, as you can see in the picture, here's our new building C, which supports our Johnson & Johnson vaccine. This facility was designed with a number of energy efficient technologies that were installed from the start of this facility, which led to a silver LEED certification. You can go to click next button. For this facility. This is the first LEED certified building in Catalent's network, and is a premise that we intend to embed within the designs of future build outs across the Catalent network. In addition, locally, we have delivered on a number of energy improvements, and we're on track to deliver over 15% reduction over 5 years here in Bloomington, as well as achieve a certification in environmental management and energy management with ISO.
So something also we take to heart is our diversity, equity, and inclusion efforts here at CalvinBloomington. We have several initiatives that we're working on wholeheartedly this year, which includes the development of our strategic diversity partnerships with schools and professional organizations, and particularly in the area of STEM, science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. We also have implemented a diverse slate recruiting policy for managers and higher levels within the site. Something that's very near and dear to my heart is we are adopting the Shingo guiding principles to operational enterprise excellence. And the foundational elements for the Shingo guiding principles are very, very important to us as an organization. Those two foundational elements are respect for every individual and leading with humility. It goes to the core of what we are here at Catalent. When we talk about respecting every individual, that means every person that walks through the door here to come to work has a true opinion of how to improve. And it's our job as leaders to listen and empower them. And leading with humility is so strong because we as leaders, we don't have the answers for everything. We rely on our teams to help us guide the future of the site. So these are two very important elements of our strategy. We are again increasing the number of employees requiring sponsorship for visas, and we have established focus groups for our DEI initiatives and collect feedback. And a great thing here is that our latest engagement survey indicates that 75% of our colleagues rated that diversity and inclusion as the highest category, which really talks to the efforts that we're putting in and the benefits that we're getting out of that. And we are on target to be above the market availability for females in all employment level categories, something we're very, very proud of. I want to talk to you a little bit about how the DE&I initiatives come to life. And they come through our ERGs, or employee resource groups. We have 8 employee resource groups here at the site. And each one has its unique characteristics. And the goal of these ERGs is to allow our colleagues to get together and plan and develop strategic actions to improve how we drive diversity and inclusion. So you see here we have from adept to serve. Adept is the people with different abilities, and serve is for our veterans. And I have to tell you, today I had a great meeting with the chapter leaders for ADAPT and our serve, because they're planning together an event for the site around a veteran who lost all of his limbs. And he is a great motivational speaker, so we're bringing him into the site to talk to us around Memorial Day. But we have all ERGs are designed to help our colleagues bring their true selves to work. And another great thing that we accomplished this year is each of these 8 different ERGs now has a sponsor from the leadership team here in the site. And what that does, it drives the cohesiveness of all these different ERGs. And the sponsorship from the leader team helps guide them through their strategic development processes, helps them guide in the different activities they want to engage in at the site and out of the site. Our ERGs really reach out to the communities and touch the communities in so many different ways by participating in different functions outside of the site, really trying to spread what we are as an organization. I'm going to turn it back over to Grant to talk to you a little about our campus here.
Yeah, so it's fun looking at this picture, frankly. Just right when Catalent acquired Cook Pharmica in 2017, we refer to this campus as Buildings A and Building B. And we've now added 3 additional components to the slide. So in total, 62 acres. Buildings A have been focused heavily on our drug substance business, which is where we grow cells and harvest proteins for the active pharmaceutical ingredient, which then can be taken into our fill finish, our formulation fill finish business and packaging. Building B has additional capabilities for fill finish and packaging. Building C is our primary building for Johnson & Johnson's vaccine. And recently acquired Building D, which is formerly the Best Beers facility. And we have a number of planned expansions that we're assessing investment in Building D to support additional clients. And then recently acquired the formerly IMI batch plant just off of Rogers, and planning to convert that into a parking lot to support our continued growth.
So I want to talk to you a little about investment decisions here at Catalent. As you know, we are a publicly traded company. And like I showed to you earlier, we have facilities globally across the world. And the process of determining where to locate a growth and investment is a very complex and deliberate undertaking. Again, I joined the Catalent family here in early November, and we went through that process as part of our ongoing annual activities. And I got to tell you, there's a lot that goes into making the decisions We have internal factors, external factors. We work very closely between our corporate teams and our site teams to build out the best plans, the best strategies for growth. And again, deciding a location is an active component that we have of defining implementing the growth projects across all the companies. It's a great process. It's a fun process. And again, I just went through this about 4 weeks ago, and it was great talking about the opportunities that we have here in Bloomington, Indiana, and what we can bring to the company as a whole in terms of growth. So why Bloomington? As I mentioned to you before, I just joined Catalent. I am from the East Coast, New York, but in my career, I've been in multiple cities in multiple countries. I actually worked in Evansville, Indiana, back in 2012 through 2014. I was with Bristol Myers Squibb, and I was the general manager for the site in Evansville. And I got to tell you, my wife and my children and I fell in love with Indiana. We left Indiana in 2014, and we're back again. And the opportunities here in Bloomington are endless. The community as a whole, so welcoming, inviting. We did pass through a couple of times when we were living here on our way up to visit our daughter who lived in South Bend. And we were very impressed at the time when we drove through. Now it's even more so. The talent that we have here in Bloomington is phenomenal. We have folks from within Bloomington, the surrounding counties, and some folks are traveling down from southern parts of Indianapolis. It is a crossroad of America. I drove from New Jersey to Bloomington several weeks ago, and I was so impressed as I was coming into Indianapolis, how many different spurs of interstate highways come in and out of Indianapolis. And now with the opening of Interstate 69 from Bloomington to Indianapolis, it just opens up from an inbound and outbound logistics perspective. It is very, very powerful for us. We can get our products in and out. And again, the business environment, the framework to support our near-term and long-term growth activities, it's just boundless here. I just want to pause a little bit, talk about the talent. Because the talent here in Bloomington, we are in a great place with many great universities surrounding us here in Indiana and close by in Ohio and Illinois. And we really need, and we are building those relationships with those universities here in IU, in IUPUI, in Purdue, the Ohio State University, and Illinois Champlain to bring more talent in to Bloomington. So we're really excited about the opportunities here for our colleagues.
Yeah, we want to talk a little bit more detail about what are we considering? What is at Catalent? And first is jobs. And we look, it's over 1,000 potential new full-time roles, and as Alex mentioned, over $30 an hour on average wage. Really a living wage for our employees to come work at Catalent, and upwards of $350 million in additional investment. We'll get into a little bit more details of where those dollars could go across our number of buildings here at the site. And we plan to do this over the next 5 years through 2026 in summary.
Yeah, I just want to pause. We're getting a notification that Kate Rosenbarger is waiting in the admittance room.
Sorry about that. And we are a little tight on time today, so I feel like you guys are already sprinting, but we have 2 people who have hard stops at 5. So
okay, we're almost there.
Great.
Yep. So when we look at the investment, we have opportunities in Building A to expand our drug substance business, additional packaging and filling business and lab work in Building B, and then building out opportunities in Building B with additional infrastructure for packaging equipment as well as freezers. And then, as I previously stated, parking over what we're calling property P. That's it. So right on. So yeah, we'd like to open it up for questions, and certainly thank everyone for their time and welcome any feedback.
And I think Alex might actually walk through sorry, Kurt, to strong arm the meeting. I think Alex might walk through more details as part of the formal presentation. And thank you, Andrew and Grant. And I'll screen share some of the memo docs.
Thanks, Jane. Yeah, thanks, Andrew and Brent. I'll try to be quick here. I think everybody's read the memo, but I'll just highlight a couple of things. So first, just grounding ourselves in the scale of this investment, I think is pretty important to do. We're used to seeing affordable housing complexes come in. We're doing tax abatements for them. Those are probably, this investment here is about 20 to 25 times as big as any one of those. So just to give you a sense of scale, and in terms of this investment, it nearly doubles the investment that's made in the site, that Calvin's made in the site so far. It's getting into the realm of the hospital site. And so anyway, it's one of those, you just have to kind of remember that this is very different than what we've seen before. The other thing I think we should draw attention to is something that Andrew mentioned in passing in his presentation, but I think it bears reminding ourselves that we are competing for this investment. Catalent has sites all over the country, all over the world. We stand up pretty well as a community, but certainly, we need to position ourselves as aggressively as possible to secure this investment. So what you'll see in the schedule of the abatements is that we are putting forward a very heavily skewed abatement towards personal property. So that's something that the company has expressed a concern about in terms of the impact, the tax impact of their personal property as they put it in here. You should know that the state is looking at, and has been for years, but is looking at whether or not personal property taxation would get adjusted at the state level. That's very much in flux right now. So in effect, what we're trying to do with what we're putting together is not to preempt what the state would do, but create a sense of predictability. So right now, it's not clear what the state will do. What we're hoping to do is create local predictability in order to really help drive the investment into Bloomington. Should the state come forward and do something to the tax rates, including dropping the floor on the tax rates or even eliminating them outright, obviously that money goes away from us anyway. So to some degree, I would think of it as really a move to create that level of predictability. You'll see on page 4 of the memo, it talks about the scale of the investment, $350 million, of which $340 million is personal property, and that 1,000 new jobs. So we're recommending a 50% 10-year tax abatement on the real estate investment and a 90% 20-year tax abatement on the personal property. And that's why we structure the deal that way. So, the nice thing is the community gets upside in terms of real estate and property, personal property taxes from the get-go. This is positive from the get-go from our perspective in terms of the economics of the deal. And that doesn't even consider things like the income tax repercussions of having all of these employees. And it's not everybody, but a significant number of employees who live in Monroe County, work at Catalent, and generating local income tax. I should say a couple things as you look at the chart in the memo. We are probably overstating the cumulative impacts, both of the personal and the real estate property taxes. In the case of real property, it's listed as capital improvements of $10 million. Typically the AV on capital improvements does not total the amount that's invested. So there's probably a reduction there, but we're being conservative and we're listing the full amount. And then if you look at the personal property side of things, what happens in personal property is often new personal property comes in actually at the floor, right? So you'll see the depreciation schedule happening in years 1 through 5. When you have so much embedded personal property and then you have new personal property layering in, sometimes that just comes in straight at the 30% floor. So all of the numbers that are listed in the first couple of years would be lower than what we've listed here. So in both cases, we're being as conservative as possible. But it is, and it should be stated, that the community is aggressive in its offer. We are doing whatever we can locally to be able to attract this investment. And what's nice about it is that Catalent has a history of exceeding its commitments. So while they're committing this kind of investment, this kind of job growth, if you look back to the previous tax abatement, you'll see that they have exceeded those significantly in some cases. So there's upside beyond what's being listed here. I think that's probably, I'll pause to maximize the amount of time, Jane, for questions. And then why don't we reserve, 5-10 minutes before 5 o'clock to be able to proceed to a vote if that's what the commissioners want to do.
Thanks, Alex. Questions from commission members? Jeff?
Yes, first of all, Andrew and Grant, please welcome and thank you very much for being interested in making this investment in the Bloomington facility. We're very excited that you're here. I guess I just had one question. I think one thing that everybody is concerned about is, in general, is economic resilience. And I guess I'd just like to hear a little bit about the diversity. I guess I'd like to hear a reassurance that the products that you would be using the new lines for, the new investment for, are not entirely dependent, say, on one particular product. So what if, instead of the Omicron variant, we get the Zeta variant and it needs something different? I guess I'd just like to hear a little bit about the resilience of the business.
Sure. Thank you, Jeff, for the question. And it's something we're really proud of here at the Bloomington site. The reputation of the Bloomington site is very, very high. I was on the other side of the fence, so to speak, where we would give business to Catalent. So the reputation in the pharmaceutical industry is very, very high. What we have here, as you know, we do make the vaccines for Moderna and J&J. We have a lot of clients in our pipeline, but a lot of products in their pipeline that are coming through our clinical areas, through our commercial areas. And that's the growth that we're talking about supporting, because we spend every week, every Friday, we call NPE, new product entities, that are asking for proposals, coming directly to us to say, will you bid on this? So we have products well beyond the COVID treatments that we're really excited to embark on with these clients. And some of these clients are some of the top pharmaceutical companies in the world. So we're really excited about the pipeline that we have here. I can't go into details of what they are, unfortunately, but we have a number of programs that we are supporting through our tech transfer efforts and our project management efforts.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that explanation.
Other questions?
I've got one. First of all, thank you for an excellent presentation and congratulations on your success.
Thank you.
And appreciate the good work you've done in the community, the follow through that you've had in prior commitments. That said, I'm the guy on the commission that usually asks all the darker questions. And so one of the questions I would ask is, are the abatements tied to the new jobs that are being projected or not? Typically they are. I just don't know if this one is.
Jacob came off mute. Jacob, you want to answer that question?
Yeah, Alex, Jane, I don't know if you have comments. I mean, I don't know if I precisely understand the question, but yes, to the extent that, the company has, worked with the city on prior abatements, this is above and beyond those commitments. In addition, certainly the abatement and the legal documents that surround that will call for the specific performance of the company, which will include both the CapEx and the headcount increases. Okay. Lastly, I was just going to say, as you're probably very familiar, the tax abatements go through the annual kind of review process with the council. So they submit their CF1 forms every year, which gives the city council an opportunity to kind of review the performance on an annual basis to make sure they're, upholding their end of the deal. I don't know, Jane, if you have anything additional to that.
I'll just, I threw the one of the SB ones on screen. So this is sort of the original document, the statement of benefits against which we compare performance annually throughout the life of the abatement. So, I present the, tax abatement compliance report to you every summer. And so we look at the new CF1s and compare performance against, what was promised. So we're looking at salaries, we're looking at jobs retained, and the investments made. And I've only been here 2 years, but I haven't seen anyone found non-compliant, but there is a process by which, EDC could raise concern, and then council could, and Larry's got the right legal terminology, but could discontinue the abatement
And
if they
that-
were non-compliant.
That answers my question. I
Okay,
just wanted to
great.
make sure we were going through the same process. And I only asked that because of the size of the abatement that's being
Yeah.
granted. So, very exciting project.
If I could just ask a question, we have the present value of the abatements for both the real and personal property. We don't have the present value of the taxes payable, but I can estimate. I mean, we do, I'm sorry, for the real, it's the same as the as the taxes abated. But with the personal property, we're probably talking, I'm just saying, probably in the range of about 3 million, roughly, present value. Just want to get a scale.
I think that's about right. Yeah, I believe that's right. I need to call up the spreadsheet to see, but it's roughly.
No,
in
that's
that
all right,
3.1.
Alex.
Yep.
I just want to make sure I'm looking at it the right way as far as the
That's right.
magnitude. So the other question I would have is, can we just get a little bit of a glimpse, and I'm not suggesting we're going to use these, but the clawback provisions that would be used to remedy if necessary?
Sounds like a Larry question if I were to guess.
Yeah, typically we have a general clause that we put. So one of the requirements of city council for this type of tax abatement is upon approval of the ordinance, they require us to enter into an MOU with the company, in this case, Catalent. And we just have a general clawback that is contingent on them hitting their marks on the annual review each year for the taxes abated. We could probably go into the specifics of those. I don't really have the clause right in front of me. I'm happy to pull that up
That's all
in
right,
a few
Larry.
minutes here if you'd like.
I didn't mean to put you on the spot. I'm always curious about clawback.
It's one of the clauses we definitely include in there. I will also note, in addition to the annual review, I talked about this in another meeting before with council, is for the personal property, there's also a public hearing requirement after year 10 for this specifically, that council has to have a public hearing to make sure that the statement of benefits is still holding up and that the company is still meeting its end of the bargain for that part. And there's different procedures in statute there, in addition to the clawback provision that Jane kind of alluded to, that call for essentially the council could take action up to terminating the abatement if it finds that the statement of benefits aren't being complied with.
Okay. And Andrew and Grant, I don't want you to think that I'm questioning that this is going to happen. It's just that I've been in this game for long enough that I remember United Airlines up in Indianapolis, where it didn't quite go the way things had been planned, and there were that was one of the early clawbacks, and it was a good thing we had some clawback provisions at the state level. Jeff?
We understand, Kurt. Due diligence is very important.
Yeah, so just to follow up on the clawback question now, just to be clear, the clawbacks are only applicable if the company's actions are not are within their control. Essentially, it's not, the clawbacks are not applicable if they're subject to forces beyond their control. So we all know that none of us could have predicted what happened to the global economy several times over the last few years. So I just want to make that clear.
I can also, if I could add, there's no cash outlay, which is obviously harder, is a more complex clawback. In this case, when you think about it, if they're not making the investments they said they're going to make, they're not getting the abatement that they said they're going to get. So to some degree, there's a sort of built-in kind of clawback function because of the structure of the abatement. So just keeping that in mind as well.
Yes, if they build nothing, it's the abatement is worth nothing. So then this is kind of a curiosity. Why 50% on the annually on the real estate property rather than the typical declining abatement? I mean, I know it doesn't at the end of the day, it doesn't make a lot of difference, but it is different than we've done it before.
It's actually reflective of a previous one that we did with Catalent. So to some degree, it's different than your traditional schedule. That's a good point, which starts at 100 and goes down to 0. I think this reflective of stuff that we've done in the past with them. So we tried to do that. And then also mathematically, we're simulating the EZID to some degree, right? So we're solving for a kind of match on a cumulative value and annual value. So that's kind of those are the forces that we're driving to the schedule as it was designed.
Okay. And then this is just a comment. This will be the first time that in this community we've used that used to be called the super abatement, or the abatement for longer on personal property for longer than 10 years. And I think I can't imagine a project that would be more worthy of moving in that direction. When that option first became available, I was pretty skeptical, and I thought it would be a race to the bottom, and it turned out not to be, fortunately. And I think it's appropriate that a project of this importance is where we're first using it.
And that Larry has made the point previously in previous discussions that also comes with a structured 10-year point of review. And Larry, you may want to talk about that just to give everybody a sense of what makes this a little bit different than maybe a 10-year abatement.
Yeah, so statutorily, we're allowed to extend the personal property abatement, this enhanced abatement, for up to 20 years, and is what I just mentioned, which is after year 10 by statute, if you offer a 20-year personal property or personal business property abatement on this, there's a required public hearing that council has to have, kind of as a check-in, a midpoint check-in. Now we do these annually. I mean, you do see the statement of benefits form, you see the filings every year, but there's a public hearing requirement that is unique to just this abatement. And I'll just mention really briefly, so just pulling up some of the clawback provisions we've had in the past, just to give you a sense of that. All of those come with a certain level of due process that are required by statute. So city council would have to provide Catalent notice. There's also provisions of it's not just a full clawback. There's also options for a potential partial repayment of the benefits conferred, both if they fail to meet typically in the agreement. We have not finished this negotiation of this agreement, so let me put that caveat out there. But typically in the agreement, partial clawback or full clawback if either they don't meet the standard set out in the statement of benefits, or if for some reason they cease operations in Bloomington.
Thanks, Larry. Other questions, comments? Seeing none, we have 2 resolutions in front of us, and I would entertain a motion for approval of the first one.
I move approval of resolution 22-01.
Second.
So we have a motion, we have a second. Now we can formally ask for any questions or comments, discussion.
I guess maybe for the public, we ought to clarify what this resolution actually is.
This is designating an economic revitalization area. Are we ready for a vote? So we have to do a roll call. Jane, could you do the honor of doing the roll call, please?
I would be happy to. Kurt Zorn,
Yes.
Vanessa McCleary,
Yes.
Malcolm Webb,
Yes.
Jeff McKim,
Yes.
and Kate Rosenbarger.
Yes.
Thanks, Kate.
All right. Thank you. That's unanimous. And we have a second resolution, 2202, which is a recommendation of tax abatement for Catalent, Indiana LLC. And we already talked about the schedules of those abatements. So
Moved as written.
Second.
great. We have a motion, we have a second. Any discussion, comment, question? Hearing none. Jane, can you do it again, please?
Yep. Kurt Zorn,
Yes.
Vanessa McCleary,
Yes.
Malcolm Webb,
Yes.
Jeff McKim,
Yes.
and Kate Rosenbarger.
Go ahead and
Well,
unmute yourself, Kate.
she's been having some phone issues, so I'm not sure. We have a minute to wait. I mean, we do have a minute to wait, so I think.
Jane, you might want to prompt the Kate again.
I'm trying.
Yes.
Thanks, Kate.
Thanks, Kate. And that's unanimous also. So want to thank Andrew and Grant for a good presentation and for good work by the staff and everybody else, BEDC, Jacob, thank you. This is an exciting project.
Kurt, just real quickly, I don't think we'll be in front of your group again, so just wanted to thank Alex and Jane, as well as Jen and Clark for all their work on this project, and we appreciate the commission's support as well.
Great. Jen, I see your hands up.
Yeah, for those of us that haven't met, I'm Jen Pearl, and I'm the president of the Bloomington Economic Development Corporation. And just wanted to thank the EDC commissioners for their consideration of this, and to Catalent. We've been working with the company for several years now, as well as the Indiana Economic Development Corporation on their jobs expansion. And this is something that has had and will continue to have a major impact on our community. So we're excited to see what's next. And thank you.
Thank you. On behalf of Catalan, thank you all for your time, your efforts. We really appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for being a good corporate citizen.
Yeah, thanks for all you're doing in the community.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
Next thing is anything for the good of the order?
I might have one item if that's
Sure, Jane.
acceptable.
Absolutely.
Kate had to jump off early, but I just wanted to acknowledge her service. This was her last meeting for the EDC, and Matt Flaherty will be joining us in February. But I'm, grateful for her time and happy that she was able to participate in the vote today. So,
Yeah. Sorry we didn't get to say goodbye to Kate. Anything else for the good of the order? If not, we're adjourned.
Thanks for an efficient meeting. This is great.
Thank you very much.
thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Good evening.
Bye, everyone.